PC and Intel Macs. A compatibility layer called Rosetta would run most PowerPC apps tolerably well while developers worked on Intel native versions, which could be distributed as universal binaries that supported both CPU architectures. This transition worked well enough that Apple essentially handled the Intel to Apple Silicon switch the exact same way. Apple would also take advantage of the fact that its computers would use the same hardware as other PCs. Right from the start, Apple officially supported running Windows directly on Intel Macs via Boot Camp. A Mac OS X app would handle partitioning the Mac's disk and downloading Windows drivers for the Mac you were using, and a Windows side app supported rebooting back into Mac OS and eventually provided some other nice-to-haves like read-only access to HFS Plus formatted volumes. By January of 2006, Apple started shipping the first Intel Macs, starting with a new iMac and a renamed MacBook Pro to replace the outgoing PowerBook series. These first systems were externally almost indistinguishable from the PowerPC models they replaced, another strategy Apple recycled for the first Apple Silicon Macs. The implied message was, maybe these machines were different on the inside, but they're still the Macs you know and love. A 2010-era white plastic MacBook. The first-generation version of this design was Apple's signature consumer laptop during the early Intel era. Credit, Andy Cunningham. The first new design of the Intel Mac era came with...
Oh.
I was just going over some of the articles by myself, twiddling my thumbs, going, hey, where is everybody? Even my parents were going to be here. How are you doing, Cheryl?
Well, I was just at a yoga class, and I left my yoga class at 3 minutes to, and climbed up the stairs, took the elevator, got in here. So I made it.
All right. Well, you and I are starting it. And there's Bill. Hey, Bill.
Hey, I'm just busy doing sourdough. That's all I'm doing.
He's working in the kitchen.
Well, awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I imagine others will be joining us shortly, but I've already started the YouTube stream, and I was entertaining myself by having the computer read to me some of the articles that I had included in the document I sent out earlier.
Cool.
And so when you came across me in the meeting, that's what I was doing, is I was just letting the computer read to me.
Oh, I've never done that. What button do you push to do that?
Well, it's become really easy with Chrome. Here, I'll actually come back to it. This is an article that, one of the articles I put in the document.
Right.
And I've pulled it up. And somewhere in the document, you're able to click with the right mouse button in Chrome and choose open in reading mode.
Oh.
What I discovered as well today, just messing around with it, was this gear up here. I'm able to do some configurations, such as I put it up here in the toolbar, so I can open reading mode now from a toolbar button.
Okay, how did you do that? You grabbed it and...
Hi, Chester. We're just getting started. We're just looking at something that I did here to let the computer read to me. You know, where did I do it? This is where it was set as side panel, so it'd pop up over here. For some reason, Chrome just did some change, and when it came back up, reading mode was full screen, but I like it as a side panel. I can open and close it. How did I get this here? No, I did it from the reader.
Okay. And then how do you get it to read?
Then it's just this play button, right?
I can't
Remembering
see the
the ups and downs of the Intel Mac era as it finally winds down.
Oh, I'm full screen.
I only have the Y Apple Swift.
Okay, so I've opened it up half screen, and then up here in this toolbar is this play button.
The release of Mac OS 27 later this fall won't quite close the book on the Intel Mac.
I wonder if that would be
the last handful of models that could run Mac OS 26 Tahoe will be eligible for security.
It usually opens in...
Well, any web page that you could open up in Chrome would have the opportunity to be compatible with this reader. And I would think what's going on, if it's not, is that it has intentionally been enveloped in something to block the like it's put itself into an object that the reader can't identify. That's been done intentionally so that it would block the. Otherwise, if it's an HTML page that opens up in your browser, I expect the reader to open it. And part of my process preparing for the club is going through these documents, these news articles that I find, and opening them up in Reader and having them read to me in the background.
Waymo halts freeway operations.
So that I can be hands-free. I don't have to actually read I can hear it, I can listen to it like an audiobook.
It becomes an audiobook. Yeah. I'm looking for that kind of a thing. So play something. I want to hear what the voice sounds like.
Okay, so for you to listen to it, which is unfortunate, I gotta switch my mic. Let me switch my mic around. So now you're picking up all the noise around me. Hopefully that's the way it's working. And I'm going to go ahead and play this right now.
Stopped service in some cities without clearly communicating what's up. The Alphabet-owned robotaxi service, which takes pride in its transparency about safety, has not been forthcoming to its riders. Many Waymo riders have been encountering major issues with the robotaxi service this month, and they haven't gotten much in the way of explanation from the Alphabet-owned firm.
See how it follows the words?
First, Waymo abruptly halted freeway driving in the Bay Area, Los Angeles, Miami, and Phoenix, barely 6 months after adding highway routing.
Yes,
many riders reported that they only
and it's also in the mobile version, in your iPhone.
Good.
And it's in a little bit of a different location, but I find myself doing that often. I will go to the document that I created, bring up the link to the article that I want to read on my phone, and then start it in audio mode, which it looks a little different on the phone. It's in the menuing in the Chrome browser. Well, for example, I'll go to the document I sent out this morning, and I'll open that up in Google Docs. I'm doing that right. And then I would click on one of the links, and it would open it up in this case, it's opening it up in my default browser, which is Safari. But in Safari, it's been built in for a long time, and I don't know if you can see my screen, but down here, here, I'm making it harder than it. Right here, there's an icon. Okay, and if you press that, this is the menu that opens, and one of the options, 90% of the time, is listen to this page. Listen to page.
I've got to translate website and manage extensions.
Translate. Now, I wonder if we're on the same page, because I was going to say there are occasions when the listen to page doesn't pop up in the Safari browser, and that's when I open it up in the Chrome browser. And so in the Chrome browser, possible you're in Drive?
I found one. Okay, so no, I'm in Safari, and I went to one of the websites that has a lot of text on it.
Yeah.
And listen to page is there.
Okay.
So I click on
Lunch
it.
at Allen's, farewell tour.
Yeah.
Workland Center. As the saying goes, all
And
good
so
things.
then I'm actually, I'll I'll close the screen and I'll just listen through my headphones and I'll wander around doing stuff as I'm listening to the article that.
Yeah. Cool. This is good.
Hey, Chester's with us as well. Hi, Chester. This is the San Carlos Computer Club. I haven't introduced us. We've started blind, but because nobody was here at 9 and I didn't introduce. I just was puttering around listening to the articles that I had put into our document. And then Cheryl arrived, and now Chester's arrived. Now it's the three of us, which is odd. I didn't give a reminder to my folks because they gave me a reminder yesterday that they were going to be in the club. So
it's 9 o'clock in Alaska. It's 11 o'clock here in Alberta. And Chester in Arizona, are you 10?
I'm 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock, yeah.
There you go. And I have something for Technology Club.
Oh, great.
San Carlos, Mexico, a picture of it was on our national news last night.
Oh, really?
At the end of the national news, they always do photos from across Canada. But what they did was way back in December, January timeline after the November election, when President Trump started talking about Canada being the 51st state, what the national news said was, Canadians around the world, send us your Canadian pride. So I sent in a picture from Bahia Delfine. It's got the Tequila in the background. It's sunset. And on the beach, there is a Mexican flag and a Canadian flag flying in the breeze. So that picture was chosen to be part, again, with the FIFA and everything going on. We're showing our Canadian pride around the world, internationally, and they chose mine to go up last night.
So that's pretty cool.
Yes, it's San Carlos, Mexico, and my name.
Very cool.
Pardon me, Chester?
I said, congratulations. Good.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. I would note that there's no remuneration involved.
Yeah, no payment, just pride.
Yeah, just clout, bragging rights. That's cool. Do you have a copy of the picture we can see, or a link to where it was displayed?
I took a picture of our TV with it on it, and I posted it on Facebook last night. But I think I'll share it to the computer page on Facebook. It's about
that would be cool. Yeah,
they do right now. But yeah, no, it was a total surprise to me. Like, we would get ready. We watch the national news every night on Global TV, but we don't watch it when it's live. We record it every day. So we make our supper and we get ready and we sit down. And as I was sitting down to get my hearing aid and everything hooked up to the TV, I get this message from somebody else in our condo complex here. And he said, "Hey, I saw your picture on the national news tonight. Congratulations." And I thought, what? I forgot all about sending it in, but because it was a year and a half ago, that I did it.
Oh, wow.
They dug in, and then I got an email from the news organization saying that they have, because I submitted it to them, they have the rights to show it, blah, 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 blah. If you missed it at 6 o'clock tonight, it will be replayed at 11 o'clock tonight. So.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's good that they informed you and how it would be used, but also reminding you that it would be used, letting you know it would be used in time for you to brag about it. That's pretty neat.
Yeah. So that was my fun day yesterday.
Very cool. Well, we've been doing bed and breakfast here, Emily and I. We've gotten off to a good start, and we've had some nice weather. It's been very, very sunny, very, very little rain, a little bit, but almost nothing compared to the way Alaskan summers can be at times. Really nice weather. Had some good guests. Well, this is the San Carlos Computer Club, and
Are your mom and dad in Alaska?
Yeah, they should be in the group right now. In fact, I'm thinking about texting them. I'm sure that they've just gotten sidetracked this morning. Yesterday, they were talking about being.
Well, Jim Cunningham told us yesterday he couldn't make it today. He's got a couple of meetings, but
Oh, okay. Hey, are you doing club with us today? Well, Cheryl brought photo that hopefully we'll get to see shortly, either here or in the Facebook page. And Chester, have you brought any topics for us today? I mean, other than the topics I've go right ahead.
I have one. It may be premature because usually this goes towards the end. But I saw a movie that I was really impressed with. As a matter of fact, I watched it twice. It's on Netflix, and it's called I Can Only Imagine.
Is it a relatively new movie?
I don't know. I don't think so, but it is one hell of a good movie.
Only imagine. Well, I am adding it to our list. Hey, Pop, how you doing this morning? Muted, so I don't know if.
Well, it looks like it's not available on Netflix Canada. I Can Only Imagine.
It may be listed as Only Imagine.
Only Imagine? Well, you'd think it would find it.
Just put in the word imagine.
But there is a 2018 film called I Can Only Imagine.
That must be it.
Right. Netflix. Greenville, Texas. Suffers physical and emotional abuse at the hands of his drama.
It's more than that.
The Netflix. Well, thank you, Chester. I'm adding that to our document for today's meeting. What else do we have going on? I didn't get a response from my Pop. I don't know if that's because. Hope he can hear.
His voice is blocked.
Yeah, he's muted. I don't know how.
Hello there.
Oh, hey, good morning.
Good morning.
Have you brought any topics for us today, Pop?
No, I barely got myself onto the computer here right now.
Okay.
But I'm looking forward to what you guys are talking about.
All right. Well, we're off to a slow start. If you aren't aware, I was twiddling my thumbs by myself until Cheryl showed up, and then Chester, and now yourself. So we've just been kind of pulling ourselves off the floor.
Okay, well, it sounds like I fit right in then.
I did send out a document of possible topics yesterday with some topics that I found interesting. I thought you guys would find interesting. Well, I guess we go through. Here is an article about Apple. And I don't know if you're paying a lot of attention to the WWDC announcement that went on last week, but they announced a bunch of improvements to equipment and software, which they were very constrained and conservative about. I mean, like very impressive things that were demonstratable at the moment instead of things that were to be projected into the future. I believe they've gotten themselves in a bit of trouble because they're finally bringing to fruition the promises they had made 2 years ago with Siri and its AI capability. With the latest chips from the iPhone 15 and into the future, they had made these promises of the intelligence of Siri increasing and being much more capable and more functional. And in this last presentation, they're showing off features that they had promised back 2 years ago. They're actually working. That's the news. That's the exciting thing, is that Siri is much more capable in this next release of iOS 27, which is supposed to come out in the... Oh, got somebody else joining. So, as interesting as that is, what they also confirmed was that iPhones as old as the iPhone 11, which is what I still own, will be getting this software update. And though there won't be the AI capabilities on board that the new phones are going to have, they're claiming that their retooling of the operating system is going to make the experience, even all the way back to an iPhone 11, a faster computer, more performative and better battery life. They have retooled the way that they launch applications and how the application works, and they're claiming that on across all devices that are supported, they will see a 30% performance boost, increasing the user experience. That I've referred to it in the past as something like hurry up and wait, where you press something and then you wait, and then it appears, and you do a thing and you wait, then it appears. The device is fully capable of doing things, but the response time is a laggy experience. And they're saying all the way back to iPhone 11, we're going to see an improvement in that experience. So that's what this article is all about here. And I'm excited because I don't want to have to buy a new iPhone. Even though they release an iPhone every year and we are at iPhone 17, this is very impressive. This goes back 6 generations and iterations in those time periods. So it's all the different sizes of the Pro version, standard, SE version that have happened in 6 years. Still being supported. That's awesome. I was thinking about, they made a comment about this, and it triggered in my head that, well, they have to do this because of California right to repair laws. We should be expecting all our devices to last at least 7 years if we paid more than $100 for it. So what that does is divide our marketplace really into a bunch of really low-end Android phones that don't need to follow that requirement for California, and devices that are much more expensive and sophisticated, that $100 barrier. So they absolutely should be supporting it all the way back to the 11 because of what California requires.
I'd like to mention to Terry the movie I recommended.
Well, yeah, Chester. Well, we'll make a point of saying again, and I've put the link in the document when we reach towards the end of the thing here. I can. Is that? Well, so if you have an old iPhone or you have an iPhone all the way back to iPhone 11, it's going to be faster. This article talks about, right to repair and making things last longer through software updates. In terms of software updates, and we talk a lot about AI in our club, Microsoft has just had the biggest patch Tuesday ever. 206 bugs, including 3 0-day. 0 days are out in the wild. That's what 0 days mean. It means that there was no pre-time. There's no time to fix the problem before the problem presented itself out there. So Microsoft just released 206 patches for security vulnerabilities, Windows 11 operating system, and 3 of those things were in the wild right now being compromised. And what people are saying is this is an indicator of this latest version of Anthropic's those AI, which has done this excellent job of finding all these vulnerabilities in our current operating systems. Microsoft is one of the groups that got a pre-release of Mythos used specifically to fix the vulnerabilities before they released Mythos to the public. And Anthropic, I mean, this is a disputed, like, I guess a lot of things can be true at the same time. This is very good marketing. Anthropic's Mythos being so dangerous to release to general masses because it has this ability to find security vulnerabilities systems that are out there protecting vital data is good marketing for an organization that's just about to have an IPO. IPO. So that is true. This kind of hype and rhetoric really drives up the valuation of an organization, a tech organization. Have this kind of, it's so performative, it works so well, and at the same time, it really does work very well. Security experts have vetted this AI, Mythos AI, and the amount of problems and fixes that have been found, it's just logarithmic. No human could keep up with this. If you're given a list of these vulnerabilities to begin with, and then had to fix each one of these, a human couldn't keep up with the amount of things that are coming in and repaired. They're both being discovered, and repairs are being offered by the AI, and these things are being put into production quickly. I've mentioned before that I do believe that there is this theoretical future where we don't have holes in our software, security holes in our software, because we've got AI building and designing that infrastructure, and that programmers are really going to end up becoming these people that provide concepts, insight, structure, that the underlying foundation, the framework, is imagined by the AI, whereas the function will be imagined by the programmer. This is just unprecedented. How many fixes are being thrown across the internet right now for all these different operators? The vulnerabilities in Linux that have been found recently patched very quickly, where you think about Linux is across the board in so many of our devices, so many devices that don't get updates regularly, that we're now being aware of these holes in our security. So I definitely don't want to. I do believe when the security experts say that Anthropic's Mythos AI is this powerful and it's doing the great job at this stuff, I think that's to be taken into account when Anthropic is saying it's too dangerous to put in the general public's hands. We're afraid hackers will use it to take vulnerabilities quicker than organizations can patch it. That's also very easy to believe because organizations have never patched things quickly. They just having a human in the loop has meant that they will lag and wait to the last minute. They'll wait until it is a problem. That's the typical course of this stuff. And so having an AI out there that's able to identify security vulnerabilities to anyone becomes a real threat if organizations aren't given the opportunity to fix those found problems as quickly as possible. So all that being said, all this has gone down in the last few weeks. We've talked about it off and on. What has most recently happened is Anthropic has released an AI called Fable. I don't have an article on it right now, but because this just happened in a week or so, they've released Fable, and Fable is supposedly as powerful as Mythos with guardrails on it, protections on it, so that it can't be used for things cybersecurity or biological hacking. Another concern with AI so powerful is the way it could very quickly come up with biological threats, terrorist plots. And so that's another consideration when they think about being able to amass, or not being able to. They have amassed all the information on the internet. That's the thing to keep in mind when you think about these AIs, how we're treating them forward, is that they are trained on every speck of information that they can get their hands on that's out there on the internet. That's just mind-boggling. Think about every book that's ever been written that's available, every web blog that's ever been written, the text from every YouTube video that's ever existed. All these things have been condensed into this mind that is making decisions and coming to conclusions based on a probability model, on ideas that or thoughts that you give it, things that you type to it. All that information has been used to form that LLM. And so these guardrails are significantly very important. And so they released this Fable AI, and within a few days, organizations like Amazon are saying they've been able to jailbreak this AI. And this is very the amount of concern that may exist for this AI, because it is Mythos with guardrail. If it is jailbreaked, if you use that terminology to say you've gotten around the guardrails, and it's very, I don't want to get into the minutia of what they mean, what Amazon means. Anthropic has had a response to it, but the fact that it's out there in the public now, in fact, Anthropic has had to pull Fable in less than a week. They've pulled it from download, so it's not available. And yeah, so it's not available for public consumption while it's reevaluated, while they look into what jailbreak really means. And they've put out a statement that makes it sound like Anthropic thinks this is the way it should work, though Amazon has had this. Amazon isn't the only one. There's others that are out there claiming that, and so they're having to go through these claims. Yes, Chester.
You made a statement that the AI includes every book ever written. How did that information and detail get into AI? Who put it there? I mean, the books are not available. You can't. How do you get that information into AI?
Yeah, and I might be a little hyperbolic, but what they did is they got book subscriptions. It's questionably legal methods that they have been called on between then and now. They've been in court over some of this stuff, whether they used fair usage. If it was fair usage, we actually have some court cases out there that have determined that an AI reading a book isn't necessarily copyright infringement. And so it comes down to how it got a hold of the book, whether it had legal rights to the book.
Let's take, for example, the Bible. How does AI read the Bible?
I am not the person that can answer that question. Yeah, but that's what a model is. A model is something that has ingested all that data and created the probabilities for the language that would follow a specific word. So a model is this matrix of language. And what it's done by consuming all of that is it is determining the probabilistic nature of the next word to follow in a sentence. I mean, in a nutshell, this is what LLMs are. It's why we always refer to them as like spell checkers, grammar checkers, because those are things that we can relate to fairly easily. You've had a spell checker in your life about as long as you've had a computer in your life, and the LLMs have been around that long. We've said for a long time that artificial intelligence isn't a really fair name for what these things are, because there is no actual intelligence there. What there is a system for determining the probabilistic, how probable the next word is going to be given the prior word. And that's what all this is built on. This is where decision making is being built on. If you could imagine, it would write a decision tree, and that decision tree would be based on each word that was written. I hope you're following what I mean.
No, I'm not.
But so it's not a matter of how does it read it. It's a matter of it had it when it was building its thought process. It had this reservoir of data as it built this probabilistic model. It was built out of that data.
Well, let me give you an example. Recently, I was on Facebook. On Facebook. No, I was on Google, and I asked who owned the insurance company that I have my life insurance with.
Daryl, we're not ignoring you. We will get to you. Hold on a second, though. Go ahead, Chester.
It came back with an answer of who owned it and who had owned it in the past.
Yeah.
Well, where the hell did it get that information?
Well, it's a little disconcerting to think about, Chester, but the people that are putting together these technologies now, I've heard them over and over refer to the internet as a series of databases. That it isn't about the experiences. They're building the experience to come to you through an AI. And that everything is just a database. Every website out there, whether you have personal attachment to it or not, it's just a funnel of data for them to interpret. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
So here's my problem. The same kind of search engines only are as good as the database that they're searching, right? So in the same example, I searched what is the special at the local pub, and it gave me wrong information because it found something on the internet, like it was an AI generated answer, and it said it was something, but it was something that wasn't still valid. So in Chester's example, it brought up different things. He asked for one thing and it went out and it gave him the history and everything as it found it in its database. So AI, is it only ever going to be as good as or as useful as the databases, or is AI going to be able to realize that that's erroneous, that that's up-to-date information or irrelevant?
Yeah.
I'm not sure exactly how it's going to work.
Well, I think I heard a journalist say recently that it can be both things. It can be very effective at a very rigid, constrained topic area, a very specific goal, like getting smudges off of a photo. Like, it can be very good at that and still just be wildly incorrect in a very general sense, at just any general task. And so going forward, we really have to look at these functions as being narrow areas. I don't know if that answers your question, but essentially, you have to leave room for it to have errors, because that's the nature of these constraints, is determining where it goes off the rails. Putting these guardrails on it is determined by finding it going off the rails.
Okay, so I did wanted to mention, like you're talking about the different court cases and everything, and I'm wondering if you've heard anything or if you're following anything that the Canadian government, it has just put in a whole bunch of, well, they've got a lot of money and a whole group of people to look at AI and how it's going to affect job markets and things like that. And they're putting in policies and they're looking at making their Bill of Rights kind of things. And the federal government in Canada is looking at that. The second thing that is being looked at right now and has already been done in Australia and different places is the no social media to 16-year-olds, 16, below 16.
Right, the age requirement. Yes.
And I heard an interesting thing from the Australian president saying the kids are finding ways around this. It's everything is being, so it's not just you pass a law, children don't have access to social media from 16 or under. We need a whole societal type of thing to agree to this and to work together on this kind of thing to protect the kids on that. Seeing my 13-year-old soon granddaughter and the one that is 16, I would say that they've got the wrong age. I think 16 is a little bit late. I would think that if you tried to ban anything, a 12-year-old kind of benchmark would make more sense to me. I think that the people that are getting into trouble on the internet, the kids that, yes, there's bullying and things like that, but the real serious ones in my mind are happening to the 14 to 18-year-olds. And and beyond.
Well,
So,
you know, in that matter, we watched a lot of 30 to 60-year-olds doing just horrible things on the internet.
well, and that's come up a lot too about, you know, the scammers and all that kind of stuff. And we've had a couple of friends that one got suckered in. She really thought that it was her son that was in distress and that he needed her to do this and do this. And it was finally her bank that said to her, have you spoken to your son directly? And she said, well, no, because his phone is broke. And she said all these things, and they finally backed her off, and because they were refusing to transfer the money that she was being.
That's their prerogative. We have laws now that make them liable for if they recognize that this is incongruent with behavior for a bank customer. They're supposed to recognize and slow down that process and ask for more information, or they can be held liable now. And we're lucky that those kinds of rules are in place because it just happens all the time.
Yeah, it does happen all the time. And even our brother-in-law, he got a phone call and he thought, this doesn't sound right. And good on him. You know, he said, I didn't think that I should, you know, phone another relative or anything. He said, I just kept telling him, go away, go away. And it actually was somebody that was trying to get in touch with him about his nephew. It was a legitimate person, but he was confused and cautious enough not to get, you know, go down that road. But
the U.S. has just passed a law, and nobody is talking about it. But any transaction in your bank account over $10,000 gets reported to the IRS, whether it's legitimate or not. And they used to be just cash transactions, or maybe limited to cash deposits of 10,000 or more. But now it's any transaction of $10,000 gets reported to the IRS. And the banks also have the ability to freeze your account if they don't understand what's going on.
Yeah.
That's why I opened another account at another bank.
Cheryl, I want to go back to what you were talking about with the age verification stuff just momentarily, because I was talking about Apple's Worldwide Developer Conference, and this was another thing that they focused on wholeheartedly was parental controls on devices. They talked about how the operating system, the securities, and how from the ground up they have rethought and retooled it, giving more power for, well, basically parents, but any administrator of accounts on a device, a granular control over what media is allowed into it, what kind, and really setting kind of a framework. This is what I was hearing, is that they were really kind of setting a framework for how to control the use of the device and who has what access to what using the device. And
it's access and verification, but it's also the sharing of that information, protecting and keeping that information only to who you've given it to, right? So yeah, it is a huge thing, and I understand that. But
well, I got the impression what they were setting up for us was, this is how we can be compliant with an age law. Is here we've put the work in, so whatever law that might come up, these are the dials you can now dial in so that we're not liable for not following the law. It's
it's they're meeting the demands of the law or the policy or whatever, but and then on the other side of that, they have to make sure that they are still protecting that information and not.
But what I saw was a system that allowed you as a parent, which means them as a software developer, the ability to flip a couple of switches and change the way the device works based on compliancy with an age regulation. That's what I saw when it was being presented to me, was that look at what you can do as a parent. And the flip side of that is all of a sudden we have a law that like the law in Australia, where it is just cut and dry. This is all that you can do. Like these kids that are under 16, they're still using calculators and computers for doing PowerPoint and Word documents. They're learning those skills. They're analyzing. They're learning about AI. They've got computer courses. What they're not allowed to do is social media. And this is where Apple has now provided a whole framework to keep that kind of stuff out of their device based on an age verification system.
So social media as a communication platform, like as a way of me to talk to my granddaughter, or to share messages and things like that, as a communication tool. Social media, I'm not afraid of. I don't mind that, and I don't mind that they can do that. I guess it's the social media part where you get all these other posts and things that.
Well, yeah, I think that if we were involved in making a law for Australia, it would have been much more intelligent than what they've come up with.
Oh.
I'm not making any argument for the Australian law. I think this hard 16 is difficult. I think that there's a lot of nuances go into how technology, and I don't know what. But
well, I don't think social media should have some of those things on for any age. Let's put it that way.
I guess what I'm getting at is that Apple has shown us that they have the tools to mold the operating system according to whatever the law comes up with. That's what they're trying to show us, is that this is ready to go. So if you are going to do age verification and kids are going to send pictures of themselves to verify that they're not adults, or they have to verify they're adults by sending pictures and biofeedback, if they're actually going to go in to tracking databases, tracking all that information, then Apple's ready. That's what they're showing us. And what I find infuriating is we're having this rule conversation over here, and really what they're showing is whatever you come up with, guys, we're ready for. Linux is not ready for it. What we've seen is a whole bunch of stuff out there for Linux where you're making my operating system illegal if you pass laws like. Apple is complying with the ability to follow the law, whatever it might take. And
I heard on the news this morning that the UK has also adopted that rule.
Yeah, they have a similar age requirement. Well, they've had for a long time a requirement for what's considered adult content to verify who you are. So in a nutshell, if you want to watch porn, you have to have sent them a copy of your driver's license, and done a photo online verifying that you are old enough to look at porn sites. The UK's always been more restrictive with media, though. Remember, they had a license to watch TV, or they still do. They still have a license. I'm even having gone through the beginnings of the internet to where we are now, having kids growing up in it. Like you guys know, I have an 18-year-old and a 20-year-old. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is for age verification, but I do believe that age verification right now is just the latest name of how they're collecting data on everybody. And the idea of being anonymous is going away. You can't just go get information without being put on a list. Cheryl, you popped in like you hadn't a thought.
I keep turning off my camera when I'm eating.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to keep thinking it's a thought when you're having a snack.
It's lunchtime here.
Richard has joined us as well. Welcome, Richard. We've gotten going very slowly, kind of creeped out onto the YouTube feed. Myself, Cheryl joined me shortly after, Chester as well, my folks, and now yourself. And we are starting to run down the clock on the first meeting here. Got about 9 minutes left. I'll start up the next meet shortly. Don't have to worry about this drink. And we were just digressing and waxing and waning across topics from the document I sent out about how Apple has committed to changes in the way software is being launched on your device all the way back to the iPhone 11. We're going to be expecting performance increases of about 30%. That includes battery life. We're supposed to see a performance in battery life across even your older devices. So this is a nice article just talking about and praising Apple for doing that. I just want to remind people that Apple is required to do that. They put out an iPhone every year. It's very easy to follow. We're at iPhone 17, and this goes back to the iPhone 11. And they're required by California law to support their equipment for at least 7 years. So they're being praised for doing what they're required to do. Thank you. Thank you for doing what you're required to do. I am happy though that it is in the best of way. What they did in the past when they would support older iPhone devices, they'd slow them down. Everybody remembers that, right? And they did it. Their reasoning to us was, well, if we allow an older device to move too quickly, it will drain its battery quicker because of the nature of it being an older device that required more power and an older battery that had less power at that time. So slowing down the device was the preferred method. That way you could continue to use your device, wouldn't lose you'd be able to use your device throughout the day at a relatively the same amount of time, and the only thing you've given up is performance. So press on that thing, operating, it goes slower, but it still works. And now this is a real change for the way Apple handles things, because they're claiming that those older devices are going to get more performative and get better battery out. All because they've reimagined the launching system and rewritten it, apparently, ground up. Hey, I wanted to bring up another article. I had it last week. I don't think we had a chance to talk about it. It's actually from the end of last month, and it's about Waymo. Waymo, as you know, is the system of driverless vehicles that are in San Francisco and Phoenix and Georgia, very other places. And it at the end of May, it made the news that they have stopped their freeway operations. So this is significant because they were operating in Phoenix as well. And these cars without drivers were being allowed out on the highway. If you can imagine, you've driven through 5 miles. Or any highway in California is pretty difficult to imagine. Having a driverless vehicle, dealing with those speeds, and apparently something has happened that they are being very tight-lipped about. They've got some statistic on something, but they have halted all their freeway access in these major places: Bay Area, Los Angeles, Miami, and Phoenix. And there is no status update so far. There is no plan to bring it back. It's really interesting. I thought it was a nice contrast to, we're living in this AI world. Look at all this neat things that AI is doing. Look at Hey, look at how much it's costing. Look at how not neat these things are, and this driverless car ambition that we had for at least over a decade, easily over a decade. This robot taxi idea that is definitely dependent on AI technology to work, and it is being what would you call pulled back. I imagine for safety concern, because they have gotten some statistical number that if they don't pull back right now, then they may be facing an issue where it can't go forward any more forward. We watched what car, I mean, I wasn't ready to talk about this. It's coming out of my brain. So we watched a car company, like I think it was where it was one of those manufacturers that had a car driverless program going on in one of the cities, and they drove over somebody and drugged the body, and they shut down the entire driverless. I mean, that doesn't exist anymore. I don't remember the name of it because it doesn't exist anymore. Because that's how quickly that system was all shut down. Waymo has made great strides in the idea of driverless cars. I think mostly because they have just an obscene amount of sensors on them. So when you see them driving around, you're like, oh yeah, that car must know what it's doing. Unlike a Tesla that's like, oh, we'll just use webcams for it. And we've been proving over and over that doesn't work. The Waymo has got a good reputation, and I've got a feeling that it's not worth hurting it with bad statistical data. And they have pulled all of them off the freeway. And this is just part of the reason I wanted to bring this up. How much time do we have in this meeting? Because I need to. We've got 2 minutes. I think I should start the next meeting. Because the next thing will take more than 2 minutes. So I'm in the new meeting now. Happy to let anyone in. Because I want to use this article just as an example. Since AI is gotten stuck in everything. Got Chester in the new meeting now. Richard joining us. Welcome, Richard. Second part of this meeting. Cheryl. Welcome, Cheryl. Now, who else is missing? Oh, it's just my folks again. You guys need to work your way over to the second meeting because this meeting's about to end.
We're coming.
Okay. Cheryl, I think you've got some background noise that's want to mute your.
Now mine says it was muted, but I'll try it again. And it's a lawnmower.
Yeah. And it said muted because I muted it before I had finished saying I was going to mute it. Okay. How are you doing, Richard?
Doing good, Mr. Stumpson.
You know that your man on his podcast gave us a teaser of the information he's got.
You know, I'm looking right now. He published exclusive OpenAI losses increased nearly 8 times in 2020.
I hate it when nobody gets on.
Yeah. Richard, let's get back to as soon as I'm done with this. Okay, so this is my example of what I'm going to show you. This article has been sitting in my to-do list for a couple of weeks. It came out at the end of May, and I'm curious what the status is of this issue. Google has forced Gemini into your web browser. Such things have happened with Copilot, with Microsoft Edge, and other aspects. If you're using DuckDuckGo, they've got their own AI that's part of. So there's this ask about this page button at the top of your browser window, or it might just say ask Gemini, depending on what you're looking at the top of your browser window. And so here's this page, this article from May 29th. And so I hit ask about this page, and it loads up Gemini, knowing that I'm reading this page, and I can ask it questions now about this news. Like simple questions like, what is the latest on Waymo? And it goes out there doing Google searches. And what it verified for me was that it is turned off these services and still have no status for when they're going to bring the service back. It also brings up other stuff that definitely was not in this article, but all related to this article. So if you're following what I'm showing you, this could be a very helpful tool for any kind of research you might be doing. Just having the ability for the AI to interact with you based on the information that's in your web browser. You notice that it is given a list of sources where it derived the info, like Chester had been asking earlier.
No, it's given you an alleged list of sources, meaning the source could be hallucinated itself.
Well, I was
or if you went and followed the link, you could find out that there was nothing related to your query in the cited link.
Well, I would disagree. In general, I would agree, but in these cases, these are vetted locations. They may not be vetted sources, but they're not fictitious sources.
Okay, but but now you have to compare. The second part of that was, does this real, not fictitious source and the cited article actually have information related to your query? Because it does that too. So it's citing the New York Times, and you think, oh, well, that's very legitimate. It's the New York Times or whatever you consider legitimate. But then you go to the citation and you find out that there is nothing in the citation, the cited page, that relates to your query, or even better, that what is in the cited page contradicts the spin, if you will, that the AI has put on it. So you don't, until you check every reference, you don't know a goddamn thing.
Well, I absolutely see what you're saying. I think that it gets better every day at being more accurate, not less accurate. But it still hallucinates, still has problems. I give you that. But they've gotten better and better and better. And if I
can't stand that, man. And I think that that's exactly, and I know you're not an AI booster, but I think that that's exactly what AI boosters do better. What the F do you mean by better?
You want to know what I mean, Richard? You want to know what I mean by better is that when I go to the source, and it goes to the workflow. Like for example, the reason I wanted to use this was because here we are 2 weeks later. Where are we at with this? What has changed about this? In the past, they might come back to an article and add amendments to it and say what date it was last updated. I think this was made and set here. So I want to find more information. I go to the AI, I say what's happened. It makes a synopsis. It goes out to its sources. It decides this is what it is. And my workflow is I read through the synopsis and I go, is that true? And I look at what source it's claiming it found that information. And I go to that source. Look at that. It doesn't exist. That source doesn't exist. So where the hell is that source?
Perfect.
Yeah. What about this source? Does this exist?
Isn't that perfect?
It cites itself
You
in
take
area
one lousy test. One lousy test in this live conversation in your very first test.
No, it's making my point for me, is that you're concerned about hallucinations. I am too. That's why you go through this process. Like, is that valid information? Is it, where is it? Where did you get that information? In this case, it's citing itself. This is the same article on the Australian, or at least that's what it's saying here, is it's from Australia. Each one of these facts has been cited somewhere, and you can follow each one of them in your research, determining whether this is true or not. You're doing research anyway.
And let's be real, Scott. Nobody does this. You understand? You're doing this as a demonstration, and maybe you do it because you're you. But when you think of the use of AI by the average person, nobody does any of this. So they're just believing whatever garbage the AI put in front of them.
But I guess that's what I mean by better. You're absolutely right. This stuff has come together into our world. It's been a dumpster fire. It's like they're trying to organize a dumpster fire. But what I mean by better is when I do this and I go to vet information, more often than not, it isn't a hallucination, given the area that I'm working within. I've talked many times about writing code projects that have just been very successful because it's in that area that I'm working. We're not going to see, this technology is not going away. It's just getting better. It's getting more reliable. It's getting so that it's doing jobs that need to get done, even if they're just narrowly focused jobs. When it goes off the rails is when it's all doing general jobs. Spell checking has been dialed in for 20 years. That's what we need to see. We need to see that kind of experience in each one of these areas that it can do the job.
Here's what I would suggest about not going away. Now, obviously, going away is a somewhat imprecise term, and I don't want to get into a debate about that. But that a person can sit and query these things endlessly for free, that is going away. And that is going away in the next 6 months to a year, in my opinion. Therefore, you and everybody else who likes to query these things will get to choose whether they like it enough to pay for it.
Yeah, you know? I disagree with that. I mean, we've talked about it before. There are people out there that are paying for search results. They got tired of Google's garbage and how difficult it was, and they're out there paying for search results. But there are people still using Google search results. There's going to be a level of this that is just thrust upon us always. Just always.
I think not unless you find revenue sources, Scott.
No, I disagree. It's too important. It's valued. It's valued from my position as a lowly IT person all the way up into the administration of the White House, where they're like saying, no, some of these things they need to be authorized by our administration.
Valued. No, you say it's valued. I disagree. If we're measuring value by willingness to spend money, and what you're seeing now is giant corporations saying, no, I'll tell you what, we burned through all our tokens for a year in 1 quarter. We don't have any more money. So we don't value it any more than what we budgeted, and we burned through it. And now we got to take a real big pause here because we don't really feel like spending more money. So we don't value it. We did, if that's expressed in willingness to spend money.
I think it's going to transcend money because of where it is politically and socially. I think it just comes down to that. I've said it before. They will print the money, and they're already doing that. They're already working on a token exchange market. So that none of these services are locked into any particular AI model. They can use their tokens on other AI models from other organizations.
Just because I can take my chips from one casino to another doesn't mean the chips became cost-free. We're talking about the cost of the chips.
I want to give Chester a chance because he's trying to get into this conversation, and we've ignored him the parts. I hear what you're saying. Everything costs.
Okay, the comment that I would like to, or observation that I would like to make, is that we had a recent IPO of very major magnitude, and there are more to come later in the year. And they're based upon future profits from IO, and that is especially true with the one that just was completed. It's not going to be based on going to Mars, because you're not going to Mars. It's based upon future profits from AI, and I don't understand where they're going to get those profits.
But Chester, nobody understands it. I mean, to my point,
the biggest blowout ever. I'm sticking with Q4 this year, baby. That's a testable prediction. Q4 this year, it will be breaking apart in every direction by Christmas.
See, we're on different sides of this prediction completely, because I see it as not mattering anymore. I see it as on its exact, to its core is what's on its face. None of it makes any sense. Not all of the value is interpreted by people, the intrinsic value people hold in the stock. It has nothing to do with valuation. It has nothing to do with making money. If it was based on making money, the stock would not be worth so much money. That's what the experts, or at least from what I've read, is that there is that SpaceX, everything was wrapped in it, right? SpaceX, Twitter, or the company X,
AI,
Grok, AI, it's all wrapped together. And there is no value in all of that whole package that justifies the stock price. The stock price is a meme stock. It is that price because people want it to be that price.
I would agree with that, except that the sale number, what the thing is being sold to the hundreds of millions of dollars investments by banks and others. It's been based on the profit they're going to make, project to make off of AI. not off of cars and not off of going to Mars. It's based on AI. And I don't see it.
Right. Well, you're not the only one that doesn't see it. There's a number of experts out there doing the math, and they're saying they can't possibly be worth this. This is a cult of personality stock. And I predict that OpenAI and Anthropic will be exactly the same way. There will not be able to math together the amount of money that they're able to bring in, because they don't bring in the amount of money that people are putting a value on. Richard's just dropped the article from Ed Zitron. This is what he was.
That's from just a couple hours ago.
Yeah, this is what he was teasing in his podcast, was that they 34 billion. What would he say? Something like 60 billion. He's got documents that show how much losses that OpenAI have. And I predict this is not going to matter. I mean, it's not going to matter. Yeah, I'm certain it's not, because so much has not mattered.
Yeah, well, he writes that the opener is, today I can exclusively report based on audited financial documents viewed by this publication that have been independently verified by the Financial Times that OpenAI lost around $38.5 billion in 2025, as well as other crucial details about the financial condition of the company.
Here it is, the net loss of 60.35 billion. Then lowered to 38 billion by removing costs.
Okay, to put that in perspective, Scott, and I don't have this number directly in front of me, but that 65 billion in losses cumulative.
Yeah,
that's everybody likes to say it'll be like Amazon, and that's more money than Amazon lost over like 13 or 14 years before it became profitable, right? So the magnitude of these losses is not comparable to Uber or DoorDash or even WeWork or any of these previous blowouts to nothing. This is much larger.
I think you're making my point for me. I would like to flip to the other side of the spectrum with the SpaceX evaluation being so astronomically valued for what it could do, that I heard a journalist offhandedly say there isn't enough money. We don't have enough money to support that kind of evaluation. It just doesn't exist yet. It's all the money. It's all the money in the system for that kind of evaluation.
And the IPO of SpaceX is not a, yes, he's made it AIX and folded in the AI thing, but it's not a good analogy for what's going to happen when OpenAI and when Anthropic try to go public, because SpaceX is a profitable company, and Starlink does have a real and substantial revenue model, and he folded AIX into that. So it's kind of this weird mishmash of, you've got something that has real value and other stuff that is just crap, right? Well, whereas when you go OpenAI, when OpenAI tries to go public and when Anthropic tries to go public, these are pure crap companies. There are no parts of the company like SpaceX and Starlink that are real businesses. These are not real businesses.
I think that Starlink and Tesla have made a profit, but not the
not the AI companies.
and not
No,
the AI.
you know what?
or the-
I agree with you, Chester, and I kind of misstated with. I totally agree with you, but my basic point was that what went public with Musk's IPO was a mixture of real businesses with real products that they can sell for more than their manufacturing cost and AI crap. When OpenAI and Anthropic try to go uh, public later in the year, that's pure BS. These are pure BS companies who don't have a product that they can sell for more than it costs to manufacture it. These
I
are
would say
companies that have never made any money at all.
I would say the same thing about the price of SpaceX and
Oh.
the IPO.
Yep.
Um,
I would too. Sorry,
I just
Chester.
cannot fathom why anyone would put that kind of money in that IPO.
I agree 100%.
I think these are all examples of how fictitious all of this is. How this is just the wheels of our post-capitalistic society. I mean, the fact that our economy has been clinging to this circular wheels of AI and equipment and the hype in the media. This is why I don't think it's going to blow up, because this stuff is run by people that think we live in a simulation. It doesn't surprise me at all that OpenAI is looking at $60 billion losses and is going to IPO and have great gains when they do, with nothing to show for it. It won't surprise me in the least. I
don't know, by the way. I don't know, by the way, if either one of them make it to market.
By that time, SpaceX should have crashed, but I think that so they may never come to market. I agree with that. But I think they was giving SpaceX enough time to disintegrate.
Well, I wanted to mention one other article that I've got with me and give some time to if anybody has any recommendations, and we can next week get back into AI and ranting about the technology and each other's opinions. But what I wanted to share, because of the recent the recent WWD conference that Apple had. They've done a retrospect on Ars Technica of 20 years of Intel in Macintoshes, and I just found it very interesting and reflexive. In the conference, if you weren't paying attention, the Mac OS 27, they're calling it Golden Gate, will be the last it'll be the first operating system that will not support the old Intel Macintoshes. So that's significant. They introduced the Macintosh, the M series, their own silicon, in 2020. Here we are 6 years later, and they are phasing out the Intel. What has been available for software has been Rosetta 2. We talked a little bit about it throughout the years. It is a compatibility layer that runs old Intel software. For just very quick background, if you have hardware and it's running software, it's running an operating system, then the software you run on that operating system has to have been written for that hardware. And so when they switched from Intel to Macintosh to the M processors, the Apple Silicon, they went from Intel's chips to their own chips, then that hardware changed. And so even though they're running the same operating system, the software that runs in that operating system has to be written or compiled so that it runs on that new hardware. And during that transitional period, they wrote this compatibility layer that sits in between the software and the operating system, making old software look like new software to the new hardware, until the software developers had a chance to rewrite their software for the new hardware. See, that was simple, right? That was really easy to follow. What this means in a nutshell is if you have old software from your old Macintosh running on your new Macintosh, the next version of the new operating system will not allow you to run it by default. They are turning off the Rosetta compatibility by default. That means that if you've got a newer Macintosh and you've got software from 6 years ago that has never been updated, that came from your old Intel Mac, when you upgrade to 27 to Golden Gate, you won't be able to run it until you go into the system and turn it back on. This is their first step towards phasing out the last remnants of this old software. They've always done stuff like this. This, again, really feels like California right to repair laws, 7-year requirement. That's right. That is the time constraint we are on right now. They started phasing out Intels in 2020. It's 2026. There's a very good chance that our operating system 2027 will be the very last operating system. Well, we already know it's going to be the last operating system by default that will run the old software. You'll have to, and the next version of this probably won't even include the compatibility layer, which is what they did originally. What this article talks about is that's basically their game plan. That's their game book, how they do things. It goes into the history of how the Intel operating system version came to be. It was actually just a hobby for one of their developers. He wanted to work at home, so he picked a backroom project of making the new OS X run on an Intel. And it tells the story of how fed up Steve Jobs was with the hardware they were using. If you don't remember, we used to have Mac chips that were called G3s, G4s, and G5s. And they were a consortium of Apple and IBM and Motorola, who designed the chips. And when Steve Jobs came back, he was very frustrated with, they were just very hot chips. They were low performing, very hot chips. And switching over to Intel just grew. It was like a homebrew project that became the pivot for all of Apple. So it's an interesting story that's told here on this Ars Technica article. I'd encourage you to look at it if you have any interest in history. We've been here forever. It's been an hour and a half. I'd like to give people a chance to recommend stuff or have a say in whatever they'd like to say, or forever keep their peace until next meeting. And I see Cheryl smiling right off the bat, so I'm betting she's got something she wants to add to our document. Go ahead, Cheryl.
I listen when everybody makes their recommendations, and I kind of make a list, and I go out to try and watch them. So Richard, I watched the one that you recommended. You're going to have to remind me the name of it now because I've forgotten the name. Oh, shoot.
I'm sorry. I was just I couldn't unmute. I'm thrilled. After Sun.
After Sun?
After Sun. S-U-N. After Sun.
Correct.
Okay. Extremely interesting filmography, videography, whatever. I kind of got lost a few times. I found the different techniques being used a little bit disturbing, and overall, I kind of wished I'd had the hour and a half back.
someone else shared a
Well, I
similar
I
review.
would like to deeply and personally apologize for stealing that hour and a half. All
No,
right.
it was very interesting.
I hear you, girl. You know,
But
well,
it didn't
all
really
right.
go anywhere. Like it wasn't a beginning, middle, end kind of story, and it was kind of an interesting portrayal of the character of the daughter and the father. But I really don't understand if he was suicidal, if there was something going on. I wasn't sure what happened pre, post. Like I just was very lost. And
You know, again, I apologize. That's all I can say.
I know
Yes.
it won a bunch of awards, Sandy.
Yeah, we also watched it, and quite a bit of what you described was what we went through too. The problem, or not the problem, the saving grace of that film was the acting was incredible. I mean, it was felt so real to me.
100%.
Hmm. But
100%.
but I have to admit, we got lost a few times
Okay.
as well.
And
And
the things that, you know, how you predict as you're going along, you know, the young girl is left in the resort by herself. So, an example. Um, I don't really understand what all happened, but I thought I was always anticipating. And my anticipation and my imagination took me to some very, very, very dark places by the way it was doing all this foreboding and stuff. And she was fine. She had a fine little experience, you know. So
Well, and you know, this is interesting, and please don't take this as a criticism, but I didn't have any sense of foreboding. You use that word. I didn't have any sense of foreboding, and I think that might be because, and don't take this as a criticism, but I don't watch the kind of media that you watch, right? So I'm not expecting somebody to kidnap the little girl and dismember her.
yeah.
Right?
Is that what this
And
movie's
because
about?
I just don't watch stuff where they kidnap the little girl and dismember her, you know? And so my head's just not in that space. You see what I'm saying? I didn't have any sense of foreboding whatsoever at any moment during that film.
So, what was the movie about?
I think it was about just the relationship and what and his
It's a
wondering
relationship
what he's
film.
going to do, because I don't think they get to be together very often,
Yeah.
if ever
I
anymore.
think it's about memory. I mean, because you're seeing her in her life with her wife and her kid, you know,
That's true. Yeah.
it's about memory of parents.
Yeah, an exploration of their relationship, and yeah, we don't know if he's still around, but she doesn't see him, or if
I
he's
think
passed
it's really
away. Yeah.
I also like it that I am just very tired of against. I won't watch stuff. I'm just so tired of seeing people behaving in a cruel manner, you know, to each other, and it's to cats, to dogs, to and you know,
But it wasn't a feel good movie. It didn't.
nobody. I don't know that. No, it isn't. I don't know that it's no. It's not a feel-good movie, but nobody's behaving in a cruel manner to each other at any point
Yeah.
in the film.
Yeah, just a thing about life, I guess. Yeah. Yeah. It was an interesting time.
Well, again, it sounds like you didn't hate it quite as much as.
Well, I really resisted not continuing, and then I thought, no, I got to see where this is going, you know, kind of thing. So I did persevere, but yeah.
It's pretty made. That's first film by the director. It's a woman. It's a female director, and it's her first feature film.
I don't, yeah. I've seen other films with I don't call it a psychotic memory type thing, with the flashing and all this kind of stuff. And I think there are better ways in just the film techniques. I felt that there were some different ways that we could have seen this.
A seizure-inducing way? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
You know, it's funny you would say that, Scott, because there's this recurrent, and this is not a spoiler if you want to watch it, but there's a recurrent scene that's in sort of a club disco with flashing lights. So when you're talking about,
Yeah. And I don't know.
It actually is, and it's a recurrent thing that occurs throughout the film.
So it's obviously a memory, but I'm not sure exactly what happened in that disco. But anyways, yeah. So it is a technique of the filmographer to do that, and the director decided to go with it. But yeah, it's different.
I think a lot of it is structurally a bit like a dream. The dreams don't necessarily have linear narratives. They don't necessarily make sense, you know, in the way that we commonly use that phrase. It's just a dream.
Yeah. And when I think about film festivals and they're looking at different things, and it won awards and stuff, and I can see for the acting and maybe the different.
Oh yeah, she hit the long ball with that. That thing only cost like I think about 8 or 9 million.
Well, you know,
very, very modest, nice, modest budget. It's about acting.
But as you guys are talking about this movie, which I haven't watched, I did go see Backrooms, which is being very successful at the movie theaters right now, and it's directed by a 20-year-old YouTuber. That it's getting lots of recognition because you know how Hollywood judges success is that ratio of how much did it cost versus how much did it make. And in that aspect, it's blowing away the Disney Star Wars movie out at the same time. And the movie is it's kind of a rehash of a series that's on YouTube that people like my daughter are very familiar with that I'd never paid any. And its themes are very similar to like dream themes, though it's cast in reality. And they call it based in liminal space.
Oh, baby, thank you. I'm going to have to look this up. Check this out. Budget 10 million, box office 262 million.
And I have to say, my daughter, as a 20-year-old, was sitting there with my with my friend Justin, the same age I am, and his son that's 23, 24 years old, something like that. And we were all entertained to watch this movie. There's some areas in it where you're like, ugh, or ugh, but none of it made us not want to continue watching it. It was a different kind of entertainment experience. I would say.
Thank you for that tip, man. I'm going to have to look that up. I mean, just because 10 to 262, that's like, yeah. Whoa.
There wasn't anything that made me wish we hadn't bought tickets to go see it. There was nothing that made me feel like I needed to leave. I wasn't bored. It wasn't slow. By contrast, we also just went and saw the Disclosure Day for Steven Spielberg. And I personally, Emily and I went to go see it. I personally thought it was good. It was very Steven Spielberg style, like specifically from the 80s, 70s, and 80s. It had the pacing and the transitions of a movie like Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It really, like, let Bill know if he's not listening to me that I feel like if you watch this movie, it almost feels like a sequel to Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Of course, it's a different storyline, different people in it. The storyline is about coming forward with the fact that aliens do exist and they've been with us for the last 70 years. But the pacing and the way that, and the music and the way that it's put together, it just felt like we were in more Steven Spielberg. And in that respect, there were parts that I felt were slow, and a lot of it I felt like I already knew. I didn't feel like there was surprises. I felt like it was a good, probably a good overall of what we've recently learned, but no real new conclusions, no real new surprises. You know
what? Separate from the whatever science or
well, the only thing I was going to do is I contrast it to Emily. Really enjoyed the movie. She's never seen Close Encounters of the Third Kind. She's not just inundated in Steven Spielberg from that time period. She doesn't, and so the pacing wasn't something that she would have recognized. The music and the transitions weren't something that she would have recognized, and she really enjoyed the movie as a 20-year-old. So I mean, I almost feel like I do the movie a disservice because I have so much Steven Spielberg background.
Right.
Right. I maybe with fresh eyes, I would have a fresh opinion of it.
But you know what you just did was Jennifer Alouette in Ars Technica wrote a review of it, and I read some of the comments. And they all had kind of the feel she was trying so hard, like you were just trying so hard to not say something bad. It wasn't bad, you know.
Yeah, I'm not saying there's nothing bad about it. But you got like Steven Spielberg is one of those Jurassic Park, right? You just like you expect things to just, this felt like a step. I wonder if he didn't make a personal choice to make it feel like an extension of Close Encounters of the Third Kind, because you could almost run the scenario together. Like,
are we still talking about Backdoor?
No, I'm sorry. We're talking about Disclosure Day.
Oh, Disclosure Day. Sorry, I was wondering at the 20-year-old, and now we're on Steven Spielberg. Do you mean to tell me that Emily doesn't know? Yeah. She doesn't understand that when you hear those notes, you all go, "Uh-oh," So.
No, and in contrast to that, like I really felt like the way they laid out the scenario and the way the audience discovered what was going on felt very similar to us following Richard Dreyfuss and the way he discovered how things were. It just felt like the same kind of and I wonder if Steven Spielberg just made a personal choice, because he directed it. He made a personal choice to just use Close Encounters as a touchstone for that film, because it just felt so similar as I was watching the movie. I haven't read anything about other people's interpretations of it. And like what Richard was saying, I can't think of anything bad about it. It was just a little slow at times, and it was very recognizable. There wasn't anything that surprised me. And then even the content wasn't something that I felt, I didn't get any new information from the content. What it's based in is the kinds of things that we've been disclosing recently. And so it's kind of driven by that stuff. We've had congressional hearings now, or congressional investigations into the government's relationship to investigating this stuff.
Isn't that sort of sad that at the end of Mr. Spielberg's career, and I love Steven Spielberg, but it's that he felt the need to make something that was trivial and timely?
I don't know. I don't know if I see it. That's your conclusion. I'm not sure that's my conclusion.
Disposable entertainment?
Well, I don't know. Maybe it's one of those that like Close Encounters definitely is not disposable entertainment. But at the same time, Maybe this is one of those films where you reflect back on it. It enunciates the time period that we're in, and it's done in a classic Steven Spielberg fashion, which may be out of fashion.
Just while we're talking, when Bill and I drove home from Mexico this year, we went from Phoenix, Arizona, over to Albuquerque, New Mexico, to visit friends, and we went past a place in the desert where there's these huge communication things. It's called The Array, and it's where Jodie Foster filmed the first
Contact.
I have a T-shirt from there, Ms. Howell. It's called the Very Large Array.
Array. Yes.
VLA, baby. That's what I'm talking about.
Radio telescopes. Yeah.
Yes, the radio telescopes. And it was really, I had been reading about it in the, online and stuff. So we purposely stayed on the route we were on after we left Pie Town and drove across the desert so we could see these things. And they were huge, and I now have pictures of them. And so that was our little close encounter for the summer. I must dash, so I'm going to sign off, but it's been really great seeing you.
I have a question. You must have gone to the gift shop, right?
Well, no, it was closed actually with the hours that we were going through that because we left Phoenix that morning.
Tragic. Keep it on your route. The gift shop is fabulous. Great T-shirts and things of that nature.
Yeah. No, it said that the interpretive center or whatever it was. But we were approaching. Yeah, it was after hours. So
I think this is a good time for us to end this meeting. We're coming up on almost 2 hours. That's how entertaining we find each other. Is that we've been talking for almost 2 hours. If there's anything else to be said, it'll have to be said in our next meeting next Tuesday at the same time. Look for my announcements, my emails.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Until then, tech on. Adios. Okay. That was it. That was our meeting for Tuesday, June 16th, 2026. That is the San Carlos Computer Club. If you're interested in the things we do, you can check out our website at scclub.org. Or if you're looking for computer help or remote support anywhere you are on the internet, I can probably help you. Until next Tuesday.